In this video guys, I'm going to show you how you can actually create a motion graphic template inside of After Effects that can be used in Premiere Pro. So guys, right here we are in After Effects, and the first thing you want to simply do is that you want to create a new project. Of course, you need to create a new project anytime you work in After Effects. So I'm going to click on new project and it's going to pop in something like this. Now I want to simply close the essential graphics panel because I've been using it for a long time now. So normally if you're new to After Effects, it's going to show you something like this, which is in the default workspace. It's going to bring up this kind of place, and what you want to simply do is that you want to click on new composition. Now from the new composition, you can set the composition duration right here. Set the composition duration to around 30 seconds. If you like, you can go for 40, you can go for 60. It actually depends on you. And now for your aspect ratio, you want to make sure that at 16:9, which is normal format for YouTube or for any video. And next thing you want to simply check is that your width and height are 1920 by 1080 respectively. If you want to go 4K, that's your own. It doesn't depend, but 1920 by 1080 is actually the one I'm going to use for this video. So I'm going to click on OK. Once I click on OK, it's going to create the composition you see on the screen. And now this are the first thing you want to simply do. Now the next thing you want to simply do is that you want to create like a custom animation in After Effects, and the next thing you want to do is that you want to create a text after the custom animation. So now in After Effects, there are numbers of ways you can actually do this. You can use pictures, you can use stop motions, you can use different kind of stuff, you can use anything you like actually. So but in this video I want to show you guys a simple trick, and actually this idea was gotten from my previous video where I talked about how you can actually create a scribble effect in Premiere Pro. So I'm going to show you that, and also I'm going to show you the step-by-step guide on how you can actually do that in After Effects. So now here we are in After Effects, as you know. So the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to click on this tool right here. It is called the pen tool. Simply click on it, or you click on the G key on your keyboard and it's going to select the pen tool. Now once you have the pen tool, what you want to simply do is that you want to draw a square, any shape you like actually. But me, I'm just going to go for a square. I'm going to click on the pen tool and click on the composition right here, and it's going to create this point as you see right here. So next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to go further off the screen and I'm going to create a square also. I'm going to click on that and it's going to show me this line. But if the line is not parallel to the one you want, you can simply move it, drag it anyhow you want it, push it up a little bit and align it. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down. Remember, we're creating a square. I'm going to come down and click on this part right here, and it's going to create something like this. And next I'm going to go to this part and I'm going to make a square also there. I'm creating the squares. Normally it might not be the same length or size, but you can actually adjust every single one of all this. So let me just adjust that a little bit. And now the last thing you want to simply do when using the pen tool is that you don't want to close this square or this shape you're creating, because if you try to close it, it actually forms a mask instead of a shape. So the next thing you want to simply do is that you want to go to as close as possible, but you don't want to make sure this circle shows up right on the pen tool. If it shows up, that means it's closing the shape. So you want to go down a little bit and make sure it doesn't pop up when you're closing it. So make sure something like this, then you can close it that place, and now you have a square just like this. So this is the first part in us creating a motion graphic title. So now the next thing we want to simply do is that we need to animate this. Of course, we just can't leave this way and call it a motion graphic. So you remember it said motion, so this need a little bit motion into it. So now to add this motion, what you want to simply do is that right here in the comp or the timeline, now you want to simply click on this part right here. Now the next thing you want to simply do is that you want to click on the add button and you want to click on trim path. Now when you click on trim path, it's going to show you some things like this, and the next thing I want to simply do is that you want to open the trim path options, and also if you try moving each of these, you see that it actually goes this way, as you can see on the screen. If you try moving each of them to 100%, it moves that way. But now, so the first thing we want to simply do is that we're going to create an animation. Yes, we're going to create an animation. We can set that back to 0, and yep. So now we're going to click on this keyframe button right here, or the stopwatch. Click on that and click on the endpoint also. I want to move like 5 seconds into the clip, something like this at 5 seconds. And now you want to simply offset only the endpoint. So I'm going to offset the end so that it goes back to the beginning, and I'm still going to create the same keyframe at 0% for the start point. So remember, at the beginning of the frame, the start is 0 and the end is at 100. At 5 seconds, the start is at 0 and the end is supposed to be at 0 also. So the end is supposed to be at 0 also. That's for the start and the end. Normally, if you do this a lot, you might see that it creates 2 keyframes there, just like the end did at this point right here. So I'm just going to simply delete one of the keyframes here, because we want this to stop at 0, not anything else. Okay, so now we're going to push this to this point right here. So now that's what you have, and once you have something like this, you can actually offset each part of all this. Okay, this is actually the first part where everything starts at 0 and ends at this point right here. So now the next thing you want to simply do is that you want to highlight these ones right here. The ones right here, what you want to simply do is that you want to highlight all of them. As you can see, it starts from something like the big one right here, and when you play this, it moves like this. That's an animation you want. But if you don't like this animation, if you want this to come as a square, then the next thing you just simply need to do is that you need to replace the keyframes right here with the ones at the left. So what I need to do is that I need to highlight all this place, bring it to the front or to the beginning of my timeline, and the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to highlight the other two and bring it to the 5 seconds mark. So depending on your skills or on the taste of what you want, you can actually change each of these settings. It's actually customizable and very easy to do. So now I'm going to bring that to the beginning of the clip right here, and once you play this, it gives the other kind of animation which forms the quick box. If the box is too slow, one thing you can actually do is that you can actually highlight the 2 at the end, and instead of putting it at the 5 seconds mark, you can bring it towards a 3 second mark or 2 second mark, depending on how fast you want this to be. So now what I want to simply do is that, going back to the beginning, you see it forms something quick like this. So now the next thing you want to simply do is that you want to add a little bit of motion into this. I know normally it has motion because it's moving, but it doesn't feel like real. It feels like what's this guy doing? It feels like dull. It's very dull if you actually look at it. There's no like quick motion, there's no like normal motion there. So to do this, you want to simply right click on all the keyframes, select everything, right click on all, click on keyframe assistant, and you can select easy ease, or you click on the F9 button and it's going to select easy ease for everything, which means that at the beginning it starts slowly, towards the middle it goes faster, and at the end it ends slowly. So that's what it means for easy ease keyframes. Now to further address this, you can simply click on the graph editor right here. It's going to show you something like this, where you can actually hold down the control key and drag this in order to create your own motions and titles, and in order to create your own motion differently. So I'm going to click on that, and now once you play this, it's still the same thing. It's going to offset some keyframes as usual, so I recommend you leaving it at the beginning. I'm just showing you this if you want to go hayway and make your own. This is just a tutorial. You can actually go out of this, you can go your own way and create fantastic things. That's the benefit of all this. You can actually customize everything by yourself. So now once you play that, you're gonna have something like this. It's pretty easy. So now the next thing you want to simply do is that if you don't like the color on the screen, I want to quickly show you this, that you can actually change the color by coming to this place and clicking on the stroke color right here. So once you click on it, it's gonna pop up this color box. And what you want to simply do here on the color box is that you want to simply select any color you want. If you don't like the blue color as I'm seeing right here, simply select the red. It's going to change everything to the red. And simply select the yellow. You're going to change it to the yellow. And now the next thing you want to simply do is that if you want to change the size of the stroke or the square, click on this part right here, and you can select any size you want. You can go with 15 and it's going to make that tiny. You can go with things like 45, it's going to make that big. You can go with things like 100, it's going to make that extra large. So depending on the size you want, so I'm going to go with 30, and that's how we have it there. So the next thing you might actually run into is that when creating this shape right here in the first place, there might be a color at the middle, a fill color at the middle. You might not see it because normally that's how After Effects does. If you try to create a shape, it creates a color immediately. So now I'm going to go with this solid color right here. And once you click on this, you see that the shape now has a red color inside, and this is what you don't want, because you don't want your graphics or your lines to have any color in the middle. I talked about this very well in my last video about scribble effect. You can go check that down in the description, and I also put it up in the cards so you can check that also. So now to do this, simply click on this place and just deselect the fill option, and it's going to leave you with a black fill. or a transparent fill actually. So that's it for the first part. That's the first thing you need to know. So now let's dive right into putting in the text and everything else. If you want these to actually get looped while you're actually creating the animation, simply hold down your Alt key, click on that. When you hold down your Alt key and click on that, it's going to pop in this kind of stuff right here. What you want to simply do right here is that you want to type in loop out. So when you type in loop out with the two brackets, type in loop out with the two brackets, and it's going to show you something like this. You want to also do this for the endpoint also. Click on Alt and type in loop out, and simply click on the one you choose. So once you click on that one, it's going to show you something like this. And what this stuff actually does is that it continues to loop the animation for the entire frame, or for the entire 30 seconds composition we created. So if I click on play, it's going to loop the animation, and it goes back to the beginning and loop the animation. So it continues doing that for 30 seconds. If you want this, simply click on the Alt key and type in loop out in the expression start. So that's it. So now let's pause that there, and next thing we want to simply do is that we want to simply create a text. So let's go to the middle of the frame, or somewhere close towards the end, somewhere here, or at the 5 seconds mark. So now the next thing I want to simply do is that I want to create a text. And simply to create the text in After Effects, simply click on this text tool right here and just type in any text you want. And for this, I'm going to type in the name of this channel. You can actually use anything you like. I'm not saying you should use the name of my channel. Okay, so using anything you like, you can actually do that. Now clicking on this part right here, you can click on the scale and reduce the size of this if you want. If you can reduce the size and bring it up, depends on you. Also, you can click on the position and you can actually change the position of this. And basically there are two ways you can change the position, either by adjusting the scale right here or using the hand tool right on the toolbar. So any of those two, but I like using the position right here because it is actually more accurate than using the hand tool. But once you get something like this, you're actually good to go. So the next thing you want to simply do is that if you don't like the font, simply double click on that. It's going to show you something like this. Now from this panel right here where it says character, simply click on that, and you can select any font you like. So let me just go to one of my simple fonts right here, and you see it changes the font instantly. So you can simply go down, also choose any font you like. It's easy, it's pretty much easy. If you don't know how to install fonts, let me know down in the description below. If you don't know how to install fonts, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll show you a video on how you can easily install fonts in Adobe After Effects, Premiere Pro, or any Adobe software you do use. So now normally let's go for a simple font. There's one of my favorite fonts. If you well use with this channel, you know that I like using the Chlorina font, and this is the font I like using the most, so I'm going to choose that for this tutorial. Next I'm going to click on this part right here, and here I can simply change the color if I like. I can change it to purple, I can change it to blue, I can change it to green or yellow, any one of those. So let me just leave it with red, because red and yellow actually fits, the match together. So let me leave it with the red color. So once I've done this, then the next thing I want to simply do is that, as you can see, I want to add a little bit motion also to the text, because I can't just leave it hanging in the middle right there. When I play the clip, it just goes this way. I can't just leave it hanging right there in the middle. So what I want to simply do is that I want to add some motion to the text. So now to do this, simply what I want to first of all do is that right here under the shape layer, I want to create a mask. Okay, I'm going to create a mask for this vertify for the shape layer. I'm going to create a mask. So now to do this, first of all, I want to click on this part right here, right click and say pre-compose, and it's going to show you something like this, and I'm going to click on OK. So clicking on OK pops it, and it becomes something like this. So now it's a pre-comp layer. So clicking on the layer, I simply want to select this pen tool again. This time we're going to close this so it becomes a mask. Okay, so we're going to close it so it becomes a mask. So now I can simply do something like this. Clicking on the first part here, I'm going to go down, also click on this part right here. So what we're going to simply do is I just want to create a mask around this entire shape that's formed in the middle. I'm going to click on that, and yeah, I'm going to close everything. If it doesn't feel right, you can still actually move each of these upward. They're pretty customizable. So once you have done that, Now what you want to simply do is that you want to create an animation for the position of this. Okay, you create an animation for the position. So now at the beginning of the frame, remember this place completed at 5 seconds. That's where the shape completed. So now what I want to simply do is I want to create a position or a keyframe for the position of the text right here. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the clip or your timeline, and next you want to simply move the X value. If you want to move the Y value, it's actually up to you. If you want to move the X value, it's actually up to you. So let's go for the Y value. I want to push it a little bit downward. Normally you're not going to see it this way because it's actually outside the mask. So now once we bring it to the point right here, you see that this forms right here because it moves up according to the animation. If you play this, you get something like this. It's not pretty fast, but what we want to simply do is that we want to just create a mask around all this. So now once we've created a mask around the first shape, the next thing we want to simply do is that we need to still create a mask on the text layer. So now I want to simply move this for a faster and easier animation. So I'm going to move this a little bit closer, and next thing I want to simply do is that right here I want to simply go further and create a mask on the text layer also. So this is where the text actually forms, and now I want to simply click on the pen tool also, and now I'm going to create a mask on this layer also. Okay, creating a mask on this layer is very easy, but this time you want to do it on the inside instead of the outside. Okay, do it on the inside. The inside is where the shape normally stays, so you don't need to create a mask on the outside. So I'm going to create this, create all these, and close the gap right here. And let's try that animation again and see if it actually works. So the mask actually moves with this. Okay, it's moved with that, and that is not supposed to happen. So now in order to fix this quickly, so simply copy the mask first of all, copy the mask, and now you can delete the mask from this text layer. Right click on the text layer and choose pre-compose. So once you pre-comp the layer, it's going to show you something like this. Click on yes, and it's going to pre-comp the layer. Now you can apply the mask back to this. So now simply using the Ctrl T, you can move everything, or using the hand tool by clicking H, you can actually adjust the mask or the comp to fit perfectly. So now I'm going to go back to the mask, and I'm going to click on everything and choose the mask only. And now I want to simply move the mask. Okay, I want to simply move the mask because if you try playing this, it's going to give you this weird animation this way. It comes from below, but the mask isn't actually positioned on the right place. So now let's use the pen tool also. You can actually drag the mask and place it on the normal spot. Using that, you can use the hand tool or any tool actually to drag the mask and place it on the normal spot. Normally where it's actually staying is in the right place. Okay, so now let's go over to the mask, open the mask property, and here you can actually see all the things from the mask. Okay, these are the other things. Now we can go to transform, and now we want to simply change the position. If it doesn't work that way, that means there's still a mask inside your composition. And basically that's the main thing. I'm not that good in After Effects. I'm not a guru in After Effects, but I can actually show you some cool tricks if you stay with me here on Visify. So now that's the first part. If it doesn't work this way, simply don't use this mask anymore because it's actually giving us some errors right here. Try creating another mask on the comp layer. So creating another mask on the comp layer, click on this pen right here, and also choose a point where the shape fills the entire space, somewhere like this. And now you're going to simply create a mask on the comp layer instead of copying the one from the text layer to this comp layer right here. So let me just create a mask quickly and close the mask right here. So now once we play this, the text appears to be coming from inside the comp, something like this. That's how easy it is. It appears to be coming from inside. But if you want to change this or give it another kind of motion, remember it actually comes out from an empty space this way. This is not actually attractive to the eyes. Coming out from an empty space, you can actually go up here, and instead of creating this kind of keyframe that pushes it downward, okay, want to create the one that comes from the top. So I'm going to delete this one right here. Click on the delete key and it's going to delete it. And instead of that, I'm going to create an animation that comes from the top. So simply offsetting the Y value to somewhere at the top right here. Okay, so once you play this, it comes from the top downward. Okay, that's how easy it is. Now going back to the composition, if you play this, you're going to see a different kind of effect because it actually appears or seems to be coming from the line it's created. So that's how easy it is, guys. Very, very easy. You can actually do this by yourself. You can customize it anywhere you want. I'm just here to show you the basics and leave you to do the rest. So now we have something like this. If you still don't like the motion, if it's very slow, you can come back to this point and simply drag the two keyframes closer to each other. Drag it closer to each other so they can actually go faster. And to add in more motion or more seamless motions, right click on everything, click on keyframe assistant and choose easy ease. Once you click on that, it's gonna ease out everything just like the first one we did. It's gonna start slowly and end slowly. So now clicking on that, you have something like this. Cool. If the text is too small in the center, actually increasing the text right here isn't a bad idea. So I'm going to increase that text and go back to this place and see if it fits very well. Okay, it still fits. And that's it, guys. Very, very easy. So now going back to the first place, I'm going to still play this one more time so you guys can actually see what you just created in After Effects. And easy. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is that if you're actually satisfied with the way things look, the next thing you want to simply do is that you want to export it as a motion graphic template. And it's very easy to do this. What you want to simply do to import or export this is that you want to go to Windows and you want to click on Essential Graphics panel. Clicking on that, it's going to ask you to select a composition. First of all, you want to simply select the composition 1. Once you select the composition 1, it's going to show you everything right there. Now you want to simply open each of these and you want to drag in the properties that you want people to actually tweak in Premiere Pro. So if you want them to tweak the colors, you can actually add the colors you want them to tweak. If you want them to tweak the mask, you can actually add all these. But since these layers are pre-comped, you might not see more effect inside. So going back to the main composition of the text, you can actually add the transform if you like. You can actually add the text, open that up, and from the source text add this to the essential graphics. So this means that anybody in Premiere Pro can actually change the text. Okay, they can actually change the text. Now from the part options, we didn't do anything to the part. From the more options, you can actually see that we didn't do anything with the more options also. But there's a downside to this, and it is that anybody who is actually dealing with the text can't actually change the color because there is no color right here under the text. Okay, there isn't any color right here under the text. So if you want to go for the transform also, you can do that by changing the position, but it won't allow you to do that because it is keyframed. Had it been it was not keyframed, you can actually add that. Okay, so now you can simply delete that also. Click on the delete key and it's going to remove it from this part right here. So now that's it for that one. You can actually add the scale properties if you want them to scale it up. Add the rotation property also if you want them to rotate the stuff. Add the opacity, and this is going to help them in Premiere Pro to change all the settings. Now the next one we want to simply add is this. Go into the shape layer, the shape you just created. You want to double click on that to open the comp layer, and next thing you want to simply do is that you want to open all this and open the content, open the shape, and now open the parts also. I'm gonna see we didn't do anything with the parts. For this, for the stroke, we actually did more things with the stroke, so we can actually add the colors. So simply drag the color of the stroke, place it inside the essential graphics panel. Next one to simply do is that I want to drag the opacity also inside, so anyone using this can change the opacity. You can change the stroke width if you like, and for this meter limit you can still add that to the place. So now opening this part right here, you can actually see more settings, but if you want to simply close that, that's up to you. Now clicking on this part right here which says the fill, you can actually add the fill color if you want them to use the fill. And also right from here under the trim part options, you can actually add the offsets if you like, but mainly this place are keyframed, so it won't work fine if anyone has the ability to change any of the keyframes. So with this, you have something like this. Next, you can still rename your motion graphic title right here. Click on Visify or type in Visify and click on so that's the first part right here. Once you have all these set, click on Export Motion Graphic Template. So now they say the project needs to be saved first of all, and that's necessity. So you need to save the project first of all. Click on Save, and it's gonna pop in a box where you can actually type the name of the project. So I'm gonna go with Visify Motion Graphics. Okay, I'm gonna keep it that way, and it's gonna export the motion graphic into our local template folder. So we can actually export this to a local drive where you have to select something or a space. If you don't want to export it directly into Premiere Pro, maybe you want to sell this on some places like Envato Elements or Storyblocks, you can actually choose local drive and it's going to export it to a local drive. But if you want to simply save this to Premiere Pro and you yourself want to use it anytime you like, simply select the local templates folder. Clicking on OK will export it, and it's to first of all verify the Adobe fonts. If it can't find any Adobe fonts, simply click on cancel, click on continue, and it has exported the motion graphics we just created. So right now I'm going to switch into Premiere Pro and I'm going to show you what it's actually created and how you can actually tweak some of the settings right inside of Premiere Pro. So guys, right here we are in Premiere Pro, and I have a stock footage right in the timeline and in the program. So what I want to simply do is that I want to test our motion graphic title we just created right in After Effects. So going to browse, simply search for the name of the title or of the motion graphics you created, and it's going to pop in, and you simply drag that and place that straight on the timeline. Now it's going to import everything, and you're going to see something like this, and once you click this, it's going to show you the same animation we did right in After Effects, as easy as that. So I'm going to click on the stop or click on the space bar to stop the moving timeline or playhead. Now I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to simply click on the motion graphic title. Right here you can see a bunch of things that you can actually customize by yourself. And remember, these are the things we still added right in After Effects. So we added the color. So if I click on the color, I can simply change the color of the text to something around blue. Click on OK, and it's going to change the color of the text to blue. And if you can come over this place, my system is actually slow, that's why it's not changing this in real time. But you can actually change the text right here. You can change it from Visify, and let's go to something like PewDiePie. And once you click on the enter key or click on the outside button, it's going to change the everything, or it's going to change the entire thing to PewDiePie. So now right here you can actually change the scale like we did. I told you that you're going to simply drag the things you want to be able to change right in Premiere Pro. So changing the scale right here will change everything, just as you can see it. Now right here we have the opacity. If you want this to be at 100%, you can leave it at 100. If you want this to come down to 50, you can leave it at 50, and if you increase that, it's going to change everything. Now for the color of the stroke, we simply added the color right here. Simply clicking on this, you can change the color of the stroke to maybe anything like green, blue, anything you want. Simply clicking on OK will change it instantly. And for the stroke width, you can change the stroke width, but don't use the slider, because when you use the sliders, the values here are very high. It is around 32,768. So changing that will actually offset everything this way. So what you want to simply do is that you want to click on this part right here, and you want to choose something between 30 to 100. So I'm going to choose 40, and it's going to show you something like this, as you can see here on the screen. Now right here is the opacity of the stroke. You can decrease it if you like, you can increase it if you like, and that's how easy it is to create a motion graphic in After Effects and import it into Premiere Pro so you can use it in your videos. So if this video made your day, click the like button below, drop a comment asking me any question at all, and I'm going to reply to each and every one of them. I always reply to my comments on any of my videos. So go down there, scatter the comment box with your comments and question, and I'll be delighted to answer each of them. Also, simply smash the subscribe button to help me and boost me. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm going to see you in the next one.